The military transport ship Horizon drifted through the cold vacuum of space, carrying Sergeant Ben Torres toward what his commanding officer had called the most difficult assignment in the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the Galactic War officially ended with the Treaty of Nexus Prime, but peace felt fragile. The war had lasted 7 years and destroyed entire star systems. Now, with dozens of species trying to rebuild their civilizations, everyone wanted to forget the horrors they had witnessed. Ben stared out the small porthole of his quarters, watching distant stars blur past. At 32 years old, he had served in the Earth Defense Forces for 15 years. The war had changed him, like it had changed everyone. His brown hair showed early streaks of gray, and his dark eyes held the steady gaze of someone who had seen too much. But unlike many soldiers, Ben had never broken under the pressure. His psychological evaluations always came back with the same notes: exceptional mental resilience and remarkable ability to maintain focus under extreme stress. The ship's communication system crackled to life. "Sergeant Torres, please report to the briefing room." Ben straightened his blue uniform and walked through the narrow corridors. The Horizon was a small vessel, designed for quick transport rather than comfort. He passed other passengers, diplomats, traders, and refugees from various species, all traveling to different worlds as the galaxy slowly returned to normal life. The briefing room contained a single table with 2 chairs. Colonel Sarah West sat waiting for him, her tablet displaying classified information. She was a veteran officer with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. "Sit down, Torres," she said without looking up. Ben took the chair across from her. "Colonel, my orders mentioned witness protection, but the details were classified." "That's because this assignment is unlike anything we've handled before." Colonel West turned her tablet toward him. The screen showed the image of a young alien girl with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. "This is Kira of the Zalani people. She's 16 years old by their species standards, though she appears younger to human eyes." Ben studied the image. The girl looked fragile and scared. Her species was unfamiliar to him, though he recognized the distinctive features. The Zalani were known for their telepathic abilities and peaceful nature. "The Zalani homeworld was attacked during the war," Colonel West continued. "Their entire civilization was nearly destroyed. Kira is one of only 3,000 survivors from a population of 50 million. The number hit Ben like a physical blow. 50 million, he repeated quietly. "She witnessed war crimes committed by multiple species, including some of our allies. Her testimony is crucial for the upcoming War Crimes Tribunal. The problem is keeping her alive long enough to testify. What makes this assignment so difficult? Surely our security forces can protect one girl." Colonel West leaned back in her chair. "The Zalani are telepathic, Torres. They can't control their ability to share thoughts and emotions. Kira has been through severe trauma, and her mind constantly broadcasts the memories of what she experienced. Every guard we've assigned has quit within days. Some needed medical treatment for psychological breakdown." Ben frowned. "How many guards have tried?" 17. From 7 different species. The longest anyone lasted was 4 days. Most quit after a few hours." She paused. "Kira doesn't do this on purpose. She's just a frightened child who can't control her psychic abilities. But being around her means experiencing her worst memories as if they were your own. And you think I'll be different? Your psychological profile shows unusual mental resilience. You've never suffered breakdown or trauma response, even after some of the worst battles in the war. Human minds seem to have natural barriers against psychic intrusion that other species lack." Ben looked at the image again. The girl's silver eyes seemed to hold years of pain and fear. "Where is she now?" "Secure facility on Station Gamma, 7. She's been alone for 2 weeks since the last guard quit. The tribunal begins in 30 days. If she can't testify, dozens of war criminals will go free." "What exactly would my job involve?" Protection and companionship. Stay with her at all times. Help her feel safe. Most importantly, don't abandon her when the psychic sharing becomes difficult. Colonel West's expression softened slightly. She's been through enough abandonment, Torres. She needs someone who won't give up on her. Ben nodded slowly. I'll do it. Just like that. You haven't even asked about combat pay or hazard bonuses. A scared kid needs help. That's enough for me. Colonel West smiled, the first time Ben had seen her expression change during the briefing. This is why we chose you, Torres. The transport leaves in 2 hours. Good luck. Station Gamma 7 orbited a small moon in the neutral zone between human and Kalari space. The station served as a diplomatic meeting point and secure facility for sensitive operations. Ben's transport docked at the main port, and he was immediately met by Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's chief medical officer. Dr. Vasquez was a small woman with dark hair and tired eyes. She walked quickly through the station's corridors, talking as they moved. I've been monitoring Kira's health since she arrived. Physically, she's recovering well from her injuries. Mentally, she's fragile but stable. The real challenge is the telepathic broadcasting. They passed through several security checkpoints. The station felt empty and quiet, with only essential personnel moving about. How does the telepathic sharing work? Ben asked. The Zolani don't communicate through spoken language like most species. They share thoughts, emotions, and memories directly. It's how their entire civilization functioned. But trauma has damaged Kira's control. She involuntarily projects her worst experiences to anyone nearby. They stopped at a heavy door marked with warning signs in several languages. Dr. Vasquez entered a code, and the door opened to reveal a small apartment. The main room contained basic furniture, a couch, table, and entertainment system. Everything looked clean but unused. Kira. Dr. Vasquez called softly. A figure moved in the bedroom doorway. The girl from the photograph stepped into view, but seeing her in person was different. She was small and thin, barely reaching Ben's chest in height. Her pale blue skin had an almost translucent quality, and her silver eyes seemed to shine with their own light. She wore simple civilian clothes, a gray shirt and dark pants that looked too large for her frame. Kira stared at Ben with a mixture of curiosity and fear. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical, though her words came in slightly accented standard Galactic. Another guard? This is Sergeant Torres, Dr. Vasquez said gently. He's here to help keep you safe. Kira's expression didn't change. How long before he runs away? The question was matter-of-fact, without anger or accusation. Ben felt a strange sensation in his mind, like someone gently touching his thoughts. Images flashed through his consciousness, brief glimpses of other guards meeting Kira, then leaving quickly with expressions of horror and pain. Ben blinked, surprised by the psychic contact, but the images didn't overwhelm him. They felt distant, like remembering someone else's dream. I'm not planning to run away, he said simply. Kira tilted her head, studying him. You feel different. Your mind is quiet. Quiet how? Most people's thoughts are loud and chaotic. Yours are calm. She paused. It doesn't hurt to touch your mind. Dr. Vasquez looked surprised. That's the first time she said anything positive about psychic contact since arriving here. Ben walked slowly into the room and sat down on the couch. Would you like to sit and talk? I'd like to know more about you. Kira hesitated, then moved to a chair across from him. She sat carefully, as if ready to run at any moment. What do you want to know? Whatever you're comfortable sharing. Maybe you could tell me about your world before the war. For the next hour, Kira spoke about the Zolani homeworld. Her people had lived in crystal cities that amplified their natural telepathic abilities. They shared thoughts freely and lived in harmony with their environment. There had been no crime, no war, no suffering, just peaceful minds connected across their entire planet. As she talked, Ben felt gentle touches of shared memory. He saw glimpses of beautiful crystal spires reaching toward purple skies, felt the warmth of telepathic communication between loved ones, experienced the sense of belonging that came from being part of a unified civilization. Dr. Vasquez watched them with growing amazement. Previous guards had usually fled by this point, overwhelmed by traumatic memories. But Ben seemed completely comfortable, asking questions and responding naturally to everything Kira shared. The war came suddenly, Kira continued, her voice growing quieter. Ships appeared in our sky. We tried to communicate with them telepathically, but they couldn't understand. Or maybe they didn't want to. Ben felt the shift in her memories immediately. The crystal cities began burning. Telepathic screams filled the air as minds were suddenly silenced forever. He experienced the chaos and terror through Kira's eyes, the confusion of a peaceful people who had never known violence, suddenly facing the complete destruction of everything they had ever known. The memories were horrific, but Ben found himself able to process them without being overwhelmed. His military training kicked in, analyzing the tactical situation while maintaining emotional distance. He felt the pain and fear, but they didn't consume him. Dr. Vasquez quietly left the room, sensing that something important was happening between Ben and Kira. "I'm sorry you had to experience that," Kira said, noticing that she had shared traumatic memories. "I can't control it anymore." "It's okay," Ben replied honestly. "I've seen war before. What happened to your people was terrible, but sharing the memory doesn't hurt me." Kira looked confused. "It doesn't?" "No. It makes me sad for what you lost, and angry at the people who did this to you. But the memories themselves don't damage my mind." "How is that possible?" "Everyone else says it feels like living through their own death." Ben thought for a moment. Maybe human minds work differently. We're used to carrying difficult memories and still functioning. Soldiers learn to compartmentalize trauma so it doesn't overwhelm us. Kira stared at him with growing wonder. "You're not afraid of my memories?" "No. I'm honored that you're sharing them with me, even accidentally. They're part of your history, and history matters." For the first time since Ben had arrived, Kira smiled. It was a small expression, barely visible, but it changed her entire face. "You really are different." They continued talking as the station's day cycle progressed toward evening. Kira shared more memories, both beautiful recollections from before the war and painful experiences from after. Ben absorbed them all with steady calm, occasionally asking questions or offering his own memories in return. He shared simple things, memories of Earth's blue skies, the taste of his grandmother's cooking, the satisfaction of completing military training. His mind felt solid and peaceful to Kira, like a calm lake that could absorb any disturbance without losing its essential nature. "I've never met anyone whose mind felt like yours," she said as they prepared for dinner. "With other species, touching their thoughts is like handling broken glass. With you, it's like sitting by a warm fire." "Maybe that's why they chose me for this assignment," Ben replied. "Human minds might be naturally compatible with telepathic contact." Dr. Vasquez returned with meal trays. "How are you both doing?" "Good," Ben answered. "Kira has been teaching me about telepathic communication. And Ben doesn't run away when I accidentally share bad memories," Kira added. Dr. Vasquez smiled with relief. "This is the longest successful contact we've had since you arrived, Kira." "I'm very pleased." As they ate dinner together, Ben felt a growing sense of responsibility toward the young Zalani. She was alone in the galaxy, the sole witness to crimes that could affect the future of multiple civilizations. The weight of that responsibility would crush most people, but she faced it with quiet courage. "Can I ask you something?" Ben said as they finished eating. "Of course. Are you afraid to testify at the tribunal?" Kira was quiet for a long moment. "Yes. But not for the reason you might think. I'm not afraid of the war criminals or their allies. I'm afraid that no one will believe me, or that my memories won't be clear enough to prove what happened. Your memories seem very clear to me. But will they be clear to judges who aren't telepathic? How do you present psychic evidence in a galactic court? Ben hadn't considered that challenge. Dr. Vasquez, how will the testimony work? The tribunal has telepathic specialists from several species. They'll be able to experience Kira's memories directly. But those specialists also need to be protected from psychological trauma. What if I help with that? Ben suggested. If my mind can handle her memories, maybe I could act as a buffer during the testimony. Kira's eyes widened. You would do that? Experience all of my worst memories on purpose? If it helps you get justice for your people, yes. Dr. Vasquez looked thoughtful. That's not impossible. We could modify the testimony procedure to include a human mental buffer. It might actually work better than anything we've tried before. As the evening progressed, Ben and Kira continued talking. She shared more about Zalani culture, their art, their science, their philosophy of mental harmony. In return, Ben told her about human diversity, Earth's many cultures, and the way humans had learned to cooperate despite their differences. Humans sound very different from Zalani, Kira observed. We shared all thoughts. You keep many thoughts private. Both approaches have value, Ben replied. Shared thoughts create unity and understanding. Private thoughts allow for individual growth and creativity. Maybe that's why your mind doesn't break when you touch mine. You're used to carrying thoughts and memories separately from your core self. When it came time for sleep, Ben set up a cot in the main room while Kira retired to the bedroom. As she settled down for the night, she spoke through the open doorway. Ben. Yes. Thank you for not leaving. I won't leave, Kira. I promise. How can you be sure? Ben thought about all the memories she had shared, the beauty of her lost world, the horror of its destruction, and the lonely months since. Because you need someone who won't give up on you. And humans are very good at not giving up. As Kira drifted toward sleep, Ben felt her mind settling into a more peaceful state. Her involuntary memory broadcasts became gentler, sharing dreams of crystal cities and purple skies instead of trauma and loss. Ben lay on his cot, processing everything that had happened. The assignment was challenging, but not in the way he had expected. Protecting Kira wasn't just about physical security, it was about providing mental and emotional stability for someone whose entire world had been destroyed. He understood now why previous guards had failed. They had approached the assignment as a traditional protection detail, trying to maintain professional distance. But Kira needed connection, not isolation. Her telepathic nature made emotional bonds necessary for her well-being. Ben had always been good at adapting to unexpected situations. Now he was adapting to a form of communication he had never experienced before. The telepathic sharing didn't feel alien or uncomfortable, it felt natural, like discovering a new sense he had always possessed but never used. As he fell asleep, Ben felt Kira's presence in the back of his mind, not intrusive, but comforting, like knowing a friend was nearby. For the first time in months, both of them slept peacefully. 2 weeks passed quickly on Station Gamma 7. Ben fell into a routine of protecting Kira while helping her prepare for the upcoming tribunal. Each day brought them closer together as their unique mental connection grew stronger. Ben discovered that spending time with Kira was changing his own understanding of memory and emotion. Through their telepathic link, he experienced thoughts and feelings in ways no human had ever known before. Kira, in turn, found comfort in Ben's steady presence and his mind's unusual ability to absorb her traumatic memories without breaking. Dr. Vasquez monitored their progress with growing excitement. This is remarkable, she told Ben during one of their regular medical checkups. Kira's psychological stability has improved dramatically. Her involuntary memory broadcasts are becoming more controlled, and her general health is the best it's been since she arrived. She's incredibly strong, Ben replied. She just needed someone who wouldn't run away from her experiences. And you? How are you handling the constant exposure to traumatic memories? Ben considered the question carefully. It's difficult, but manageable. My mind seems to process her memories differently than my own. I feel the emotions and see the events, but they don't overwhelm my core sense of self. Dr. Vasquez made notes on her tablet. The military psychologists are very interested in your case. This could change how we approach telepathic species in the future. Meanwhile, Kira was learning about human culture through Ben's shared memories. She experienced his childhood on Earth, his military training, and his experiences during the Galactic War. Unlike her traumatic memories, Ben's experiences came with context and emotional processing that helped her understand how humans dealt with difficult situations. Your species is fascinating, she told him one evening as they watched the stars through the station's observation deck. You carry so much individual pain, yet you don't let it consume you. Humans have learned to be resilient, Ben replied. We've had to be. Our history is full of conflicts and disasters, but we always find ways to rebuild and move forward. Kira was quiet for a moment, her silver eyes reflecting the distant starlight. I don't know how to move forward. My entire species is gone. How do you rebuild from nothing? Ben felt her sadness through their mental connection, a deep, aching loss that went beyond anything he had ever experienced. But he also sensed something else, a growing strength that came from no longer being completely alone with her grief. You're not starting from nothing, he said gently. You have your memories of what your people were like. You have their knowledge and their values. As long as you're alive, the Zalani aren't completely gone. But I'm just one person. How can one person carry an entire civilization? You don't have to carry it all at once. You can share what you remember, teach others about your people, and help make sure their story isn't forgotten. That's what the tribunal is really about, making sure the galaxy remembers what happened and why it can never happen again. Kira leaned against the observation deck's railing, her small frame seeming fragile against the vastness of space. Will you help me? After the tribunal, I mean. I don't think I can face rebuilding alone. Of course, Ben answered without hesitation. We'll figure it out together. Their conversation was interrupted by the station's alert system. Red lights flashed through the corridors as an automated voice announced, "Security breach detected. All personnel report to designated safe areas immediately." Ben's military instincts activated instantly. He grabbed Kira's hand and pulled her away from the large windows. We need to get back to your quarters now. They ran through the station's corridors as security personnel rushed past them. Ben's combat training took over as he scanned for threats and planned escape routes. Through their mental link, he felt Kira's fear spike, but also her trust in his ability to protect her. Dr. Vasquez met them at Kira's quarters, her face pale with worry. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace near the station. They're not responding to communication attempts and they're jamming our sensors. Assassination attempt? Ben asked. Most likely. We're evacuating non-essential personnel, but you two need to stay here. This room has the best security on the station. Ben quickly assessed their tactical situation. The quarters had reinforced walls and a single entry point that could be easily defended. Emergency supplies were stored in the bedroom, and the communication system could reach the station's security center. How long until backup arrives? He asked. At least 2 hours. The nearest military patrol is in the Centauri system. We can hold out that long, Ben said confidently. Dr. Vasquez activated the room's emergency protocols, sealing the door and engaging additional security measures. I have to coordinate the evacuation. Don't open this door for anyone except station security with the proper codes. After she left, Ben and Kira were alone in the secured quarters. Ben checked their emergency supplies while Kira sat on the couch, her silver eyes wide with fear. They're here for me, aren't they? She asked. Ben sat down beside her. Probably. But they have to get through station security and then through me to reach you. That's not going to be easy. I'm scared, Kira admitted. Not of dying, but of failing. If I don't survive to testify, the people who destroyed my world will go free. Ben felt her terror through their mental connection, but underneath it was a core of determination that impressed him. Despite everything she had been through, Kira was still fighting for justice. You won't fail, he told her. I won't let that happen. The station's lights flickered as explosions echoed through the corridors. The attackers had breached the outer defenses and were fighting their way toward the secure sections. Ben moved to the door, listening carefully to sounds from the corridor. His military experience told him that multiple teams were advancing through the station, using coordinated tactics and heavy weapons. Kira, I need you to stay calm and listen to me carefully, he said. These people are professionals, but they're making one crucial mistake. What mistake? They're treating this like a normal assassination mission. They don't understand what they're dealing with when they face a human Zolani team. Ben activated the room's defensive systems and prepared his weapons. As he worked, he felt Kira's mind touching his more strongly than ever before. I want to help, she said. Is there a way I can use my telepathic abilities to assist you? Ben paused, considering the possibilities. Can you sense the attackers' minds? Kira concentrated, her silver eyes closing as she extended her telepathic awareness. Yes. There are 12 of them moving through the station. They're thinking about breaching this room in approximately 10 minutes. Can you tell what species they are? Mixed group. Some are Kalari, some are Vorthan, and others I don't recognize. They're being paid by someone who wants to prevent my testimony. Ben felt a surge of tactical possibilities. Having real-time intelligence about enemy positions and intentions was an enormous advantage. Kira, would you be willing to form a stronger mental link with me? If we can share thoughts directly, we could coordinate better than any military unit in the galaxy. She looked uncertain. That would mean experiencing all of my abilities at once. It might be overwhelming for your mind. I trust you, Ben said simply. And you trust me. Let's see what we can accomplish together. Kira reached out and took Ben's hands. As their skin touched, her telepathic abilities flowed into his consciousness like water filling an empty vessel. Suddenly, Ben could sense the attackers throughout the station. He felt their thoughts, their plans, and their positions as clearly as if he were watching them on security monitors. But more than that, he felt Kira's complete mind merging with his own. Her memories, emotions, and telepathic senses combined with his tactical knowledge and combat experience. They became something greater than the sum of their parts, a hybrid consciousness that could think and react faster than any individual. The attackers reached their corridor and began setting explosive charges on the door. Through their shared awareness, Ben and Kira could sense every detail of the assault plan. They're planning to breach in 3 places simultaneously, Kira said, though her voice seemed to come from inside Ben's mind as well as his ears. Let them, Ben replied. We'll be ready. When the explosions came, Ben moved with inhuman precision. Guided by Kira's telepathic awareness, he anticipated every attacker's position before they appeared. His shots found their targets with perfect accuracy while Kira used her abilities to confuse and disorient their enemies. The first wave of attackers fell within seconds, their advanced tactics useless against opponents who could read their thoughts in real time. Impossible, one of the surviving Kalari hissed into his communication device. They're anticipating our every move. Because we are, Ben said aloud, knowing that Kira was projecting his words directly into the attacker's mind. The second assault wave tried different tactics, using mental shields and psychic dampeners to block telepathic intrusion. But they had no defense against Ben's human intuition combined with Kira's enhanced perception. Working together, Ben and Kira fought with perfect coordination. Where Ben's military training provided tactical knowledge, Kira's abilities provided perfect awareness. Where Kira's telepathic powers revealed enemy intentions, Ben's combat skills delivered precise responses. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When station security finally arrived, they found 12 unconscious attackers secured in the corridor and Ben and Kira sitting calmly in their quarters. "How did you manage this?" the security chief asked in amazement. "Teamwork," Ben replied simply. 3 days later, the War Crimes Tribunal convened on the neutral world of Haven Prime. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to hear testimony about atrocities committed during the Galactic War. Ben stood beside Kira in the massive courtroom, watching as judges and lawyers from across the galaxy took their seats. The telepathic specialists who would receive Kira's memories looked nervous, aware of what previous attempts had cost other mental health professionals. "Are you ready?" Ben asked quietly. Kira nodded, though he could feel her anxiety through their mental link. "With you helping, I think I can do this." The tribunal's chief justice, an elderly Altarian with deep blue skin and ancient eyes, called the session to order. "We are here to receive testimony regarding war crimes committed against the Zalani people. The witness is Kira of Zalani Prime, sole survivor of the attack on her homeworld." Ben and Kira approached the witness platform together. The telepathic specialists activated their recording equipment while the courtroom fell silent. "Kira of Zalani Prime," the Chief Justice said gently, "you may begin your testimony when ready." Kira looked at Ben, who nodded encouragingly. Then she reached out and took his hand, establishing their mental link in full view of the assembled judges. "I will share my memories of what happened to my people," she said, her voice clear and strong. "Sergeant Torres will serve as a mental buffer to protect the telepathic specialists from psychological trauma." What followed was the most powerful testimony in galactic legal history. Through Kira's memories, filtered and processed through Ben's stable mind, the tribunal experienced the destruction of Zalani Prime with perfect clarity. They saw the unprovoked attack, witnessed the systematic extermination of a peaceful species, and felt the grief of a civilization's end. But they also experienced Ben's human perspective on the memories, the tactical analysis, the moral outrage, and the determination to seek justice. His mental presence allowed the telepathic specialists to absorb Kira's experiences without being overwhelmed by trauma. The testimony lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the courtroom remained silent for several minutes as judges and observers processed what they had witnessed. The Chief Justice finally spoke. "This tribunal has never received testimony of such clarity and emotional impact. The evidence presented today will ensure that those responsible for the destruction of Zalani Prime face appropriate justice." Over the following days, the tribunal heard additional evidence and legal arguments. But Kira's testimony had provided the foundation for everything that followed. War criminals from multiple species were identified, arrested, and convicted based on what she had shared. Ben remained with Kira throughout the proceedings, their mental bond growing stronger each day. They discovered that their connection allowed both of them to heal from their wartime experiences in ways that neither could have achieved alone. "I've been thinking about what to do next," Kira told him on their last evening on Haven Prime. "I want to establish a memorial foundation for the Zalani people. Somewhere their history and culture can be preserved and shared." "That sounds perfect," Ben replied. "Where would you want to build it?" "Earth," she said simply. "Your people understand loss and recovery better than anyone else in the galaxy. And they have the mental resilience to work with telepathic species without being overwhelmed." Ben smiled. "I think Earth would be honored to host such a memorial. Would you help me build it? I still don't want to face the future alone." "Of course. We make a good team." As they prepared to leave Haven Prime, Ben reflected on everything that had changed since he first received his assignment. He had started as a simple bodyguard, but had become something much more important, a bridge between species, a partner in healing, and proof that understanding could exist between very different forms of consciousness. Kira had also changed. The frightened, traumatized girl he first met had grown into a strong young woman with purpose and hope for the future. She carried the memories of her entire species, but no longer carried them alone. Their ship departed for Earth the next morning, carrying them toward a future neither could have imagined when they first met. Through the viewport, they watched the stars blur past as they traveled toward humanity's homeworld. "Ben," Kira said as they settled into their quarters. "Yes. Thank you for not running away. Thank you for trusting me enough to stay." They sat together in comfortable silence, two minds connected across the vast differences between their species, proving that understanding and compassion could bridge any gap the universe might create. Behind them, the galaxy continued its slow process of healing from the wounds of war. But ahead of them lay the possibility of building something new, a future where different species could work together not despite their differences, but because of them. The memorial they would build on Earth would become a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy, showing that even the greatest losses could lead to new connections and deeper understanding between all thinking beings. And at its heart would be the story of a human soldier and a Zilani girl who discovered that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from standing alone, but from choosing to stand together.